Let me tell you of a place that exists in most cities and towns, and most people try to turn their face and say this place doesn't exist. Who am I to say this place exists? And most people try to turn their eyes and say it doesn't. My name is nobody. I heard a mother say in response to her child's inquiry, she pointed to me and said, "Mommy, who is that man?" And her mother said, "Nobody, dear, he's a homeless man." All right, so the question I ask all the time when I'm dealing with people, because I've been working with the community now for 15 years or something like that, is I started asking the question, who is a homeless person? And a lot of times I get an answer where a homeless person is a person who has no housing, or a homeless person is a person who has an addiction problem and their addiction moves them to the street. What makes a person homeless is the answer I get. The what's of a homeless person, the no shelter, the addiction, these are what's of what makes a person or brings a person to homelessness. But who is a homeless person? A homeless person is a person just like you who thinks and has thoughts that mean something to them. They have emotions, and those emotions mean something to them, and they have a desire to do something. If it's only just a willingness to survive through the day, they're acting on their will. So that makes them an individual just like you, a person. You have in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, when TV started coming out, they portrayed, and Hollywood portrayed a homeless man as a man in a long trench coat carrying a bottle in a brown bag and a floppy hat and sitting in just dirty and disheveled, or if you see things like South Park and type in South Park homeless person and watch how they portray a homeless person, or the Family Guy, type in Family Guy in Google and they'll find out how they portray a homeless person. So you've got a lot of people that are coming into the system that have assumptions and biases that are based on a media perception of who a homeless person is. And those misconceptions go on into the professional field. The professionals get frustrated with the dynamics of the homeless community, and out of their own frustration, their own biases, and the assumptions they make about homelessness, they create more problems than solutions. We have a misconception of homelessness because TV and media is always portraying homeless people as being the deranged, crazy, drunk, dirty-looking person. And everybody that's seen as homeless is seen as being less than I am, less than you are, a lesser than. I hitchhiked from Alberta to Quebec when I was 16 in the 70s. I was young looking and I was a target. I know now because I'm a lot older and smarter than I was back then. But young kids on the street are sexually exploited enormous amounts of times in different ways. And the guy picked me up hitchhiking because it was raining. The guy said, "I'll give you a place to stay for the night." He got there. I was king of the road. He said, "Do you want something to drink?" I said, "Sure." He smoked a joint with me. I thought I was on my own. I was a good, smart kid. And he put on some music, an old album called "Bad Out of Hell" by Meatloaf. And when the song "Bad Out of Hell" started playing, that's the first time I got raped. He raped me. I was 16. Got away from that. I just didn't like what had happened to me, and I went to a religious organization that told me that they helped homeless people, and there was a guy that worked there. He won my confidence. I suppose you could say he groomed my confidence. One day he started telling me how much God loved me and how much that God had brought me to him so that he could teach me what love was, and under the guise of God and love and manipulating a minor's mind, he raped me the second time, to a guy to rape me. I got away from that. I was angry at God, angry at everybody. And I got up to Fort St. John and was standing in a bar in the lobby of the Condale Hotel. The guy came out to part of the room and started talking to me. He said, "Oh, there's a party going on over at my place. Come on over to my place. There's a party over there." And I smoked some cocaine that night. And he was the third and last guy to rape me. And my mind snapped. There wasn't enough booze or drugs to hide the pain. From the time I was 17 years old, I'd sat in libraries and tried to bury the noise by seeking knowledge. But the more knowledge I had in my head, the less the voices of the guilt and shame would run. And so as a homeless man, I spent countless times in libraries, and I read philosophy looking for answers, psychology looking for answers, metaphysics looking for answers, occult looking for answers, and theology looking for answers. So I was constantly ending up in a psychiatric ward because I wanted to commit suicide. And when I turned 30, they started diagnosing me. And by the time they stopped diagnosing me, I had 22 mental disorders. So I was an addicted, mentally ill, transient homeless man living on the streets of Canada for 25 years. Written off to long-term institutionalization with little hope of recovery. That was me. All my years of studying, one of the subjects I studied, I said, was psychology. I created a model. I created my own model, my own psychiatric rehabilitation model, and I put it to practice. And 30 months after I put it to practice, I was diagnosed as having no symptoms of a diagnosis and no need for medication. I worked my way back. And then I started to rebuild my life. But it was the epiphany that came that said, they can't figure me out. They don't know what to do with me. They told me I'm going to be in an institution with little hope of recovery. That's the way they're going to treat me, and I still got a lot of life in me to live, and I took my life back. When you've resigned yourself to this is my lot in life, resignation, okay? This is my lot in life, you're comfortable, you adapt, it becomes a community to you. So you've got a system that's created, and you've got a lifestyle that's not condoned to that system. So they say, okay, this is our system, you're going to come into our system. If you don't fit into our system, I can't make you fit that way, then I'm going to treat you differently. I'm going to treat you as hard to deal with, or I'm not going to treat you the way you should be treated. And it becomes easier for me to be outside than it does inside. Tent cities happen because there's not enough shelters. There's shelter space. You've got a shelter for men that can hold 30 beds, and because of COVID, or I don't know, 39 beds, I don't know how many they have, but that's about it. You've got the women's shelter that has maybe 20 beds at that. You have the youth shelter that has even less beds than that, maybe about 17. And still you have over 200 people that are sleeping outside in Oshawa every night. So tent cities are just the fact that there's not affordable housing, there's nowhere to go. Yeah. And so it's a resignation to, I can live this, I can do this. I did it for, it was my life. My living room was any sidewalk I was sitting on. The television I watched were the people that went by. Sometimes people on the street are more fun to watch than television. They're crazy. Normal people are crazy people. Street people are the great people. Just kidding. I was going to tell you a story about a 13-year-old boy who wanted to do something for the community.
Please, yeah.
And I work with his mother works with me as she's a student from Durham College. She's brought her son at 13. He went out and he bought 10 cheeseburgers from McDonald's and wrapped them in individual bags and 10 apple juices. And he went out and we went and found 10 homeless people and gave them a cheeseburger and an apple juice. That might seem like a small thing, but when you're a homeless person and you don't get out to McDonald's very often, and someone comes by with a cheeseburger, I'll tell you what, that kid was, that little individual creative idea made my day. I would rather someone who's walked a few miles in my shoes to walk up beside me and say, let's figure this thing out together, than have an academic who is academically smart and street stupid. You can't ask a person who's never been drunk how to stay sober. You can never ask a person who's never been homeless how to understand homelessness. So you need people that have the ability with that lived experience, and that lived experience needs to come together with the professional experience, and the professional experience and the lived experience need to come together, find the gaps, and fill the gaps.